Welcome everybody. I'm really happy to see each of you here, and I'm happy to be here guiding and hosting this session today. So it's Circle of Sustenance Art now as part of the sixth and the final session of this Art for Wellbeing series. A couple of you are here for the first time in this space, so and I was just thinking we may well have other people arriving as we kind of as you arrive and get comfortable and get set up. So we'll take time to get here and be with ourselves and connect with creativity, which might feel to you incredibly close at your fingertips, or might feel like a long lost friend. Being however you are is welcome. Together we'll create a safe and non-judgmental atmosphere, environment that facilitates us to be authentic and be connected with ourselves and each other, and with our creativity. So it's really just a taster. It's not a long session, but I'm hoping that each of you gets something really valuable out of it. And also congratulations on getting yourself here, because I know that can be a big deal, a really big deal in itself. Especially, well, for most people in relation to creativity, actually getting, dedicating some space, and for carers in particular, there are often a few extra hurdles and obstacles to giving yourself that place and space for creative well-being. Just thinking, I won't do a big rave about the benefits of creativity. I'm hoping that you will experience some of that this morning. Let's continue to arrive and be here and be with yourself, however you are. And here's a little process, a little ritual that we've been doing, I think, pretty much every session. So if you're okay to close your eyes for a moment, please do. Just to say, any of the suggestions that I make, of course, you trust your own impulse, your own authority, and you might go yes or no, or that doesn't quite work for me. Of course, it's entirely up to you. You retain the agency, your own agency. So letting go of a breath or two, allowing yourself to land into your chair, into this space, into this place with yourself and with these lovely others here as well, knowing that there are others here. Perhaps letting go of a strong breath or two, maybe even a grisly sound or a yawn or a sigh. If there are others around in your place, in your space, they might just have to, at a distance, hear you making funny noises today, or if you're in your own space, either way, feel free to do some growling or therapeutic growling, very good thing. Grumbling, growling, grizzling at the back of your throat, just to help yourself maybe release any tensions in this moment. And you might want to stay with your eyes closed, or you might open them at some point soon. And either way, allow yourself to tune into a sensory experience, one sensory object. So it might be the first thing that catches your eye when you open your eyes. It might be a sound that you hear. It might be something that you're touching with your hands or another part of your body. Just gently noticing one sensory object and allowing it to say to you two things. And one is I am, and the other is I offer you. So it's tuning into giving your attention to a sensory object or experience, listening for its response to I am and I offer you. Just allowing whatever comes to you to arrive into your consciousness, even if it doesn't make sense or you think this is the silliest thing you've done for years, or even if it arrives in a song or a form other than English. We'll have just the shortest, swiftest time, a couple of minutes, I think literally 2 minutes, if you wanted to jot something of that down or make a very swift mark on paper in response to the I am and I offer you, or to just stay sitting in the closed eyes space if you want to. There's no right or wrong way of doing this process or any of the processes or exercises that we might engage in this morning. And in a minute, we'll have an opportunity for each of you, if you want to speak something of that. It might be, and you can, that's completely fine to not speak or share anything. If you do, I guess it's a way of honouring your experience and offering something of yourself to the others in the group. So it might be what your sensory object or experience was, maybe the I am, maybe the I offer you, and or if you made a mark on paper or wrote something, you might want to share that. It's, you know, it can be a very uncertain time for many, if not most of us. You know, carer life on top of everything else. It's it's possibly quite a challenging time, and yet even in those moments, you just engaged with a very simple process, which is very portable as well. I would encourage you to try it out at different times. You know, it might even be a moment in the day where you just kind of notice. I mean, I've been trying it when I remember. I've been doing that myself lately, and it's like, and it can be the smallest, most unlikely thing that will just in that moment take me outside of my maybe frantic brain, and it's like, oh, just a slight shift of perspective, something tangible in the world that might be offering me something that I wouldn't have otherwise noticed. Yeah, so thank you, and thank you for being willing to share something of yourself with a group of strangers. It's very courageous. So what's next? So we'll have an opportunity, or another opportunity, for some inward exploration, inward attention, and then some possible art making or writing. You know, you do whatever feels easiest for you and most comfortable. And I think some of you have prefigured almost what the theme of comfort and support. And well, yeah, today's session, the specific theme is Circle of Sustenance, and I called it Draw Forth the Colours of Support in Your Life. And so if are there any questions or things that you want to say at this moment before we ease into the next process? I was going to say jump into it. I thought, no, there's a better way of saying we don't need to jump in this moment. We do enough jumping right now. Let's ease into it. Trying to think about the language that I use and what the language is supporting. So once again, if you're okay to close your eyes, please do. And letting your breath happen however it's happening. Maybe letting go of a couple of strong breaths or two. And sending a breath to whatever part of your body or being is most holding or tense or in need of a little bit of loosening or easing or comfort. Yeah, so a softening breath, a loosening breath to that part of you. And so there's an opportunity for a gentle tuning into there's some here and now, in the moment, physical support, I guess. So maybe in terms of even your chair that you're sitting in. So knowing that your chair is supporting you. It might or might not be the most comfortable seating arrangement, yet somehow it is offering your body some kind of support. The floor and the earth, the ground underneath this floor that your feet are making contact with, the chair is making contact with. This is supporting you as well. And maybe if you can easily allow your attention to go to your feet for a moment. Just even noticing any sensations, and if you can't notice any sensations, just knowing that they're there. These amazing feet that hold you up and help you move across and around the earth. And your legs and your spine, which once again you might or might not have, back difficulties, or might not be the most most youthful spry spine in the universe. However, it does continue to support you, this back and this spine. The bottom that you're sitting on is supporting you, the backs of your legs, your spine, your neck. Your physical, your sensory faculties are supporting you to be here and to be in this moment, and to be able to listen and look and touch. So we'll just have 10 minutes, so a fairly swift, once again, a swift time to put something down on paper if you want to. Something of, so maybe even choosing a colour, if you have colours there, letting yourself choose a colour of support. So there's no right colour or wrong colour. It's like, in this moment, what are you most attracted to? What most nourishes you? Maybe a gesture of support that somehow carries or represents one or some of those sensations of being physically supported right here, right now. And if you have no idea whatsoever and you're completely blank, you just choose something randomly, make a dot, make a blob, make a mark, and then keep going. Then you make another one and you've got something to respond to. Or if you're not connected with the colours or the gestures, feel free to write, or feel free to simply be. It doesn't have to be about doing. This is a space for you to be as you are if you want to, if that's something you're craving. If it's easy for you, and if you're okay to actually, if you're on a laptop, I don't know otherwise how it would work exactly, but you can feel free to put your camera onto your art making or writing hands in this time. That's fine to do that or not. It's up to you. It's just a shortish art making, writing, expressing time. Maybe just a play. You don't have to have any particular idea. That's one of the beauties of this kind of mark making. It's like you can just begin and see what happens next. Go with the art of emergence, which is what I call it. It's often very different from a lot of our preconceived ideas about how we're supposed to make art and what it should, that it's supposed to look like something. It doesn't even have to look like something. And that's part of the giving yourself space. Great question from Prabha. Are we using only one colour? You can use as many colours as you want. Thank you. I suppose the starting with one colour, it's just a way to allow yourself to really give that gentle, fine attunement to what's calling to you in that moment. If you feel good to add other colours, other gestures, of course, please, yes, please do. Some of you have heard me say this before and some of you haven't, but the Sally Swain 2 basic creativity guidelines are: 1, breathe, and 2, be kind to yourself. I have to remind myself of these continually. A lot flows from those two. Breathe, be kind to yourself. And we've got another 5 minutes with this swift mark making process. Allow the art materials to support you in the way that the chair is supporting you and the earth underneath your feet is supporting you. They don't need to be something that you're battling with or trying to figure out. You know, they can actually, they're there to support and nourish you, even though they don't necessarily always do what you think they're going to, or create the masterpiece you thought you were hoping for. It's very much about giving yourself permission. Permission to create something that doesn't look like you thought it was going to, or permission to make a mess. Permission to make a very childlike image, or use up, or no, not use up the whole space, or use up the whole space, whatever it is. It's simply an expression that's coming through you for now. It doesn't have to represent you for all time. You can allow space around your art making process. And I'm just thinking perhaps I could have said a bit earlier in the process, but maybe it's not too late because I'm being kind to myself, is that if you haven't even connected easily in with an expression or an experience of what's supporting you, and there's something else really strongly happening for you, that's fine to go with that. It doesn't, it's that might be the way that the art materials and the process support you, is to allow you to express something that you don't get a chance to express in other contexts, such as grief or such as grumpiness, or whatever that is. There might even be a little blurt somewhere on the page or on another page. It's like, I still feel grizzly. Or, art materials are fantastic ways of letting stuff out safely in a way that doesn't harm anyone. So I've made it a little bit of a stretchy 10 minutes of art making, but in a moment I'll ask you if you're okay to pause or finish, or it might be something that we're going to have another round of mark making very soon, and it might be something that you feel like, no, I don't want to pause or finish this one. I've only just begun. I've just warmed up to it, just gotten into it. And that's okay, because you'll be able to have a chance to continue right now or come back to it. So I've got my dilemma is whether to invite you to share something really briefly of that, or whether to keep going in this more internal space for now with you and the art making. I'm sort of tending towards that at this moment, unless there's a very strong desire to speak something of how that was so far. I'm trying to read the room. Keep going with the process. We'll have another chance for sharing a bit later. Yeah. So if you're okay to, once again, close your eyes, please do. If you don't want to, and if you just got to keep going with what you're making, that's fine as also. So if you do have your eyes closed, again, tuning into your body, your feet, your spine, chair, what your body that's making contact with the chair and the air around you. The air that's both sort of separates us and links us and connects us. And so circles of sustenance, circles of support We began pretty much with the physical in this last exploration. And so this immediate sensory physical support. Maybe see if you can get a sense of, I suppose, staying with the internal for a moment. What's maybe an attitude or internal processes that possibly help to support you in your world even at this moment, even maybe right now, today, here in this Art for Wellbeing session. What's an approach or a strategy or something that supports you in your well-being? That might be quite a cerebral process, you know, might or might not resonate for you. And what about your home and where you are and things that about your immediate environment that help to support you and somehow support your well-being? I'm thinking about even this technology that somehow, you know, can be very glitchy and irritating and all sorts of problems, yet there are a whole lot of conditions and circumstances, including this Zoom technology, that in this moment are supporting us, supporting you to be able to be in this space. And just noticing that for a moment. And then, so the elements of nature that support you. Perhaps trees in your local area. Plants, animals, people in your life that support you. People that you're close to who sometimes offer you, sometimes, maybe not all the time, offer you a moment of kindness or support. Just lightly allowing whatever images, shapes, memories, moments, sensations come to you in relation in particular to support and sustenance. You maybe have a sense of support from a community or communities, possibly from something that's transpersonal beyond humans, human nature. You might just be staying with you and your feet and your spine and the chair. So the invitation to you is to maybe continue with what you were already creating, or to maybe start something afresh. We've got about, I'll add up the time in a moment. I think it's something like about 15 minutes of art making. It might be that you actually connect with the notion of circles, so the circle of sustenance, circle of support. It might be that you find yourself doing some kind of circular form mandala, which is a sacred circle, or even concentric circles of a colour or a shape for each, or a pattern for each type of support that you might experience in your world. And it might be, again, that you didn't particularly connect with any of these sensations or feelings or thoughts of support, and it's just an exploration, an expression on paper of whatever is with you right now. Any of this is welcome. So 15 minutes is in some ways a short amount of art making time. I mean, really, you could spend hours with this one, but it's amazing what you can do in 15 minutes. If you think even back to the sensory object, I am, I offer you, and that you got something, each of you got something from that. That was a very swift process. And just trust your impulse, your creative impulse. Listen for it and you trust it from one moment to the next. Remember the breathing and the being kind to yourself. Perhaps even allowing the mark making to help you breathe more fully. And knowing that your mark making hand is supporting you. It's a vehicle or channel of support and expression. If you're stumped at any point, just not quite sure where you might go next with your art making, or if you notice any inner critic stuff come up, there are many ways of responding, and one way is to regard the piece that you've already made. If there's something that you've already got there on the paper, to regard that in a similar way to the sensory object you had earlier, and it might be you allow it to say, you allow your picture to say, I am, and I offer you, and you might even ask it what it wants. You might ask that image that's already there, image or sculpture or whatever materials you're using, what do you want or need? Another of the many possible strategies for moving along with or working or playing with inner critic type thoughts is to have what I call a blurt sheet. A blurt sheet, so maybe a separate piece of paper next to the one that you're writing on or arting on, just a place for the blurts. The bits, the grisly voice that might maybe says, oh, but yours is, but this is not any good, or it's not good enough, or any of that stuff. You just blurt on paper and then come back to the main event, the one that you feel is the main event, the one that you're working and playing with. And know that this is about your nourishment. So this whole session is for your well-being, your nourishment. This is a dedicated space that you have found your way to and created the time and space to be with. So it doesn't have to be to please anyone else. You don't even have to do anything. We'll have about another 5 minutes of mark making. Sometimes it's a case of hurrying slowly, whatever that might mean. I tend to be very fast with my art making, actually, and with my writing. And sometimes it's the most nourishing thing I can do for myself to momentarily go, slow down, Sally. Just allow something else to come through. So that might be, it might even be a mindfulness or a noticing of the pace and the rhythms that call to come through with your art making. And it'll be different for different people at different times. So the most nourishing thing for you might be to go really fast and heavily and bigly, or it might be to do something very small and delicate and slow. If you notice feelings come up, that's what happens. That's art making and creativity are often associated with feelings. And it's the page, the canvas is a great place to let them out, let them through, or it might be as simply a noticing. Feelings are so human, so natural. So in these last few minutes of mark making here this morning, you might want to surprise yourself. Allow something, it might be something that you've been kind of noticing, an impulse that you've noticed, which might even feel a bit risky, like it's going to mess up the whole thing, or might make it look yuck, or whatever that risk might be. And then see if you can let yourself do that thing, if you do have an impulse like that. The worst that can happen is that you might wreck it. And I think I've mentioned one of my favorite creativity books here before, called Life, Paint and Passion. And I think they actually say, what's more important, your painting or your life? What's more important, your painting or your life? Which is a really radical, really extreme way of expressing it, because I think, you know, I think of art making as loving something into being. It's almost like there needs to be some degree of love and attention that goes into creating it in the first place. So it's and yet there's something about having that love and attention for ourselves as well. So finding your finishing or pausing gestures. When I say pausing, it may well be that you make or find a time and space for yourself in the next week or so to return to it if you can and if you want to. And letting yourself look with soft eyes at your creation or creations so far. And see if there's a part of the picture, or it might be the whole picture, that attracts you in this moment. Actually, that's a good idea I got from one of you, is maybe let yourself have a little bit of a stretch as well. It's a great idea. You might have been in it might have been an intense art making space, and where your body and your whole being has been supporting you to do this creating. And yeah, see if there is a part of your image that calls to you just in this moment, and listen for its message for you. It will have a message for you. So just as the object or sound did earlier on. Just allow it to speak its kind, wise message to you. And in a moment, we'll have an opportunity again to share something of your experience, where you've been on this inner journey or outer expression of inner. So if you want to really, briefly say something that stands out for you from the process of the 2 rounds of art making that you've just done, something that stands out for you from the process, or something that stands out in your own picture, or if you got a message from your image, you might feel emboldened to speak that, to share that. If you want to show something, you're very welcome, but it's quite brief, each of you, and we'll witness each other again. So thank you. I feel like we create a wonderful web or patchwork of thoughts and feelings and creations and wisdom, between us, different people expressing different aspects, which might or might not resonate with each other. It's a kind of a little temporary community of support that we have here And talking of temporary, we've got about a few minutes left of our session today. So firstly, I want to thank each of you so much for being willing to be here and to be true to yourself and to engage with the creative processes and you know, giving yourself that time and space for self-care. Creative well-being is really, that's a very special thing that you've done this morning, and you've offered something of yourself to others as well in the process of being with yourself. And yeah, it's been an absolute joy and privilege for me to spend time with each of you.